Hello, welcome to the I Must Ask You a Question show. I'm Tim Nichols with 3 million%, and this is Jim Bardwell with Fiber Protector America. Glad to have you today. Jim, what's going on with you, man?
Well, just like we were talking before we came on the call, Tim, just coming off a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday break here in the good old U.S. of A. It was an interesting one, right? This was we'll always remember this one, the Thanksgiving where we had to wear a mask and socially distance ourselves and question, gee whiz, should we have them over? Should we go over there? Even whether you did or you didn't, it certainly made for a different outlook on this Thanksgiving, didn't it?
Yeah, actually, I heard of some families that had visitors in and actually picked up some COVID at their Thanksgiving meal. So, I understood the whole urgency and the whole caution after that. You know, a lot of people in my family have already had it, so they weren't real worried. But we had a pretty sizable get together. Travel was pretty interesting too, though. You hated to stop anywhere, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. You know, as we've discussed on this call before, my wife and I relocated here to Boise, Idaho in August, and my son is in college in Kentucky, and we had purchased his airfare to come up here and spend Thanksgiving with us. He was going to come up and spend the week with us. My son has they say people extenuating circumstance, what have you. He has asthma. He had pretty bad childhood asthma. It's usually onset asthma. It means if he gets a cold, it's worse, right? So we weren't knee jerk. We're not all the way one way or all the way the other way. We just said, if his medical professionals say, hey, unless it's an emergency, if you got asthma, probably not the best idea to be getting in an airplane.
Right.
So we actually had him stay there in Kentucky. Again, this will be something that we will all remember. It's all going to be etched in our memory. What was your 2020 Thanksgiving like? I'm excited. I saw in the news where even more, another company is saying they're going to be able to have the vaccine available this month, December. Well, tomorrow, December. Yeah. So that's two big giant manufacturers making the vaccine available sooner. So we're making plans to go into 2021 strong. We're going to come out of this swinging and ready to get to work.
Well, and given all that's going on with the year, but then you double down on that with holidays and then inability to travel or maybe caution in travel or interaction. I think that's real easy for anyone that's a business owner, entrepreneur, or even in professional sales to use the time to back off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, we talked 2 weeks ago about finishing 5 tips to finish strong. And we agreed that we would go in and go deeper on those tips. And so today, audience, what we're getting into is refocusing on productive activity. And we want to really expand on that and just kind of give some ideas. But we want you to feel free to comment and tell us what you do. Tell us your ideas, ask questions, right? That's what this is for. So we can answer questions about relationship marketing, about how to grow faster. We want to get into that with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this topic. Refocus on productive activities. Man, I tell you, that refocus is, a lot of people will say, hey, you got to write goals. You got to focus in on what you want. You've got to make it crystal clear, right? You got to have vision. You got to take like a binocular, right? You got to tune that little dial and make sure you can see it clearly.
Right.
And a lot of people get excited about that initial focusing, right? That initial goal setting process, that initial business plan, putting it together and all that, and putting together a marketing plan, what have you.
Yeah.
Redoing anything, sometimes people don't get so excited, do they, Tim? Refocusing.
Well, and it's been a pretty tricky year. I mean, really, you've been through several sales cycles throughout 1 year. Typically, you might not go through these many cycles in 5 years, right. 1 year to 5 years, right? And so, refocusing even on what you were doing before this next wave of COVID came, You know, we were just getting people, if I remember correctly, people were just getting back out into in-person meetings, in-person events, and then everyone has kind of locked back down again. In Texas, we don't have that urgency to lock back down, but we're pretty cautious. I mean, it's up to you individually, but we have a lot of individuals, even within the 3 million% program, they're like, you know what? I would rather meet virtually than in person.
Right.
And so I think we run into that, but you know, still we have to go back to make a plan. You know, the things that you do today are going to affect you 30, 60, and 90 days from now. And for those that want to kick back and say, hey, we're locked down again, I think I'm just going to watch some TV and, you know, catch up on my YouTube videos and stuff like that. They're going to be looking desperately for new business come January, February. And that's what we're here trying to help them head off, right? So if we make a plan, Jim, what does that mean to you?
Well, you know, again, it's so funny how being a business consultant, especially in the industry I've been working in, we have it seems like it's a cycle, right? And I'll be talking with someone and say, oh, you know, I need to systematize my business. I need to sit down and make a plan. I need to have a business plan. I need a marketing plan, all kind of plans, right? But the number one excuse they'll come up with is, ready? I just don't have time. I don't have time. I do not have the time to sit down. You know, that's why I went and bought this planner. It's like a program you put on your computer and you just answer a few simple questions, or they'll even hire a company to come in and make a plan for them, right? They'll seek out someone who's done it already and they can just maybe click their life into that plan. But even those take time. Nothing is timeless, right?
Right.
And all the time I hear, Tim, I just don't have time. I don't have time. And it was funny, you know, when we went to this first lockdown back in April and May, so many people were posting stuff on the internet and joking, you know, COVID hairdo, right? They called it the COVID 10. Oh, I gained 10 pounds because I didn't do anything but sit around and eat. You know, I didn't do this and I didn't do that. And I went virtual and you know, my business, what? You've been complaining for years you don't have time to to work on your business, and that should be a plan. You know, a realistic plan would be that you take advantage of this time. Nobody wants this to happen, but if it's going to happen, okay. My partner and I just last week sat down and said, you know, it does look as though this is where we're headed. Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be transparent. Last time it caught us by surprise. Whoo, what was that, right? well, now it's like a big old 18-wheeler out in the front parking lot going, wah, wah, it's coming, right? It's trying to back in the gate. Watch out. We can't be caught off guard this time. There's no excuse for it. So that's exactly what we're doing. We are refocusing or readjusting. We're making a plan that certainly through December and January, that's going to be a great time to work on those very things that we've been putting off.
You know, I've been doing something with our peer advisory groups, with our 3 million% peer advisory groups and 3 million% peer advisory groups. And so in doing that, I came up with, actually, I woke up at about 3:30 one morning and decided to redo a lot of things that we've been working on. And that came from some things I was doing in some one-day workshops that we were creating. And in the planning for those workshops, it hit me that we needed a 30, 60, and a 90-day action plan. And we need to do it in a way where we're going to deepen relationships quickly, elevate our profile, leverage networks, build credibility, and establish community, but do that in a structured way where we know what's going to happen in 30 days with our business, with how we approach this. Yes, this is no big secret anymore. It's not a surprise. It doesn't matter if you go virtual or in person, you better have a plan, because again, the things we're doing today will affect us 90 days from now.
Right.
You know, and so a question I have for listeners, what do you have to do now to get to where you want to be in 30, 60, or 90 days? You know, and I think that's an important question to ask ourselves.
Right. And you brought up a great point earlier. You know, what if your star pupils were listening to you 90 days ago and they came up with a 30, 60, 90-day plan? whoopsies, guess what? There's at least portions of it, if not big sections of it, that are not valid anymore.
Right.
They have got to be adjusted. So say a month ago, one of your listeners, one of your members, one of somebody that you have influence over said, you know what, Tim, that's a good idea. I'm going to do a 30, 60-day plan, 90-day plan. Well, guess what? We've been throwing another curveball. And so, one thing I learned, again, the unit I was in the military, one of the things we prided ourselves on was our ability to be given a mission, and you had to come up with a mission plan. Matter of fact, you had to submit that mission plan to your superiors before you could go on this mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
But usually the first casualty of any mission, you've heard this saying before, Tim, the first casualty of any mission is the plan. Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as you jump out the airplane, the plane just goes right out the airplane window with you. And usually those that would end up being successful in accomplishing the mission is they were able to adjust and change. And even though you had a plan, can you adjust that plan? Can you change that plan? I mean, goodness gracious, Tim, in what we learned over this past year, when we're making a 30, 60, 90-day plan, we should have 3 or 4 versions of that plan.
Right.
Right now, as we sit here today, we should have a 90-day version of this plan that includes one plan is these vaccines kick in and it's a whole new world. The gates get open and we got opportunity. We can make moves. We can do these things. But you know what? There should be another plan. You know what that plan would be? That the vaccines come out and fall flat on their face.
Right.
That could happen. 2 weeks into this, we could find out, you know what? These things aren't working. It could get a lot worse than it is right now, right? So why not make multiple plans? What do they call those, Tim? Contingency plans.
Right.
Especially 90 days. I think your 30-day plan, you're probably pretty safe to make a plan and be able to stick to it for 30 days. But goodness gracious, Tim, our 90-day plan at Fire Protector America is pretty fluid because it could be very different just depending on what happens over the next 30 or 60 days.
Right. I'm pretty excited about something because of all this research and things I've done. I've created a planner. I'm doing away with my workbook curriculum and changing to a 90-day planner so that you can adjust as your plan has to adjust. Like what you were saying about in the military, I think Mike Tyson said everyone has a plan when they step in a ring until they get hit in the face.
Right. Yeah. That first punch.
That's right. So, we've got to have those contingencies and be able to be prepared to duck and dodge, I think. But it almost like keeps going back to your 30 days. What are you doing in 30 days? Sometimes what are you doing in 2 weeks, 15 days, and how that looks.
I read an article very much like that said that's one of the biggest challenges right now with young people today is we live in such a sterilized, safe society. Tim, when I was growing up in school, you had to caution, you had to be careful that your mouth didn't write checks that your backside couldn't cash.
Right.
I don't know about you, where I grew up, those some big old cowboys, man. You hung a sheet of paper up there they didn't like, they'd punch you. Okay. And they might get suspended or they might just even get in-school detention. But nowadays, there's a no questions asked policy in most schools. You even touch another student, you're expelled. You're done. So therefore, people can get away with a whole bunch that you and I couldn't get away with, right?
Right.
And I think there's a lesson to be learned there that sometimes you do need a kick in the teeth to really get your attention and make sure you say, you know what, I'm not going to do that again. No, sir, no way. I ain't doing it. I'm not going to call that guy a name ever again because he punched me in the mouth, right? And so, maybe that's something that we can get out of. So let's see. Next, we're moving on to making your conversations count.
Well, it ties into what you were saying perfectly, in that watch for your opportunities as to what conversations you're having. I kind of learned this lesson, even spending time with family. It made me think about this. I've always done this. You don't have to be on the phone or you don't have to be on a virtual call to try to get into a sales conversation. But a lot of it is just reestablishing or reconnecting with even current relationships, but in making conversations count, what I was going for with this is, even if you're in the line at Walmart, or even if you're at church or wherever, listen for those opportunities to create productive conversations. I think so many times people check out if they're not in the sales mode, or, or on the job, if you will, and they miss out on valuable opportunities to do life with people and have those quality conversations.
So one of my favorite stories that demonstrates what you're talking about, Tim, is this goes back many years ago when Bill Clinton was elected as our president. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he went to Washington, D.C. He's the new president. And as always the case, usually when you become president, they get together, the House and the Senate, and have a big banquet so you can meet everybody, right? You're the new president, you got to meet everybody. And I won't mention any names. We don't need any names, but to get the idea, the gist of this. But there were two Republican senators. Okay, two Republican senators. And they did not like this guy. They didn't like Bill Clinton at all. Oh my gosh, he's not of our ilk. He's not of our kind. We don't want him. We don't like him. We're mad. We're mad. We're not want anything to do with this guy. And so one of them looked at the other one and said, you know what? When that guy gets in front of me, I ain't going to shake his hand. I'm going to show him. I'm going to let him know right from the gate, we are not friends. I'm going to put up with you. You're the president, but I'm telling you, I'm not shaking his hand. And so as Bill Clinton got closer and closer, and this is one of the traits that a lot of people have said this about people of influence. Bill Clinton had the ability to make you think there was not another human being in the room when he was speaking to you. He was able to create a bubble around you two, a conversational bubble that you almost felt as though you had stepped in a phone booth together. Okay, that he was able to create that feeling, right? And as he got closer and closer, this senator wrote later in his story, he said, I felt myself being drawn into him. And by the time he was two people away from me, I couldn't wait to grab his hand. Now, this is somebody I did not like. I did not care for this guy at all. He said, and by the time he got in front of me, I grabbed his hand and shook it like a schoolboy and said, Mr. Bill Clinton, I'm so glad to meet you. and that's a true story. And, listen, that's what we have to do when we meet people, especially face to face. We have to make sure that when they walk away from that meeting, that's how they feel about that meeting. Well, when I'm on a telephone call, I want people to make sure that when I hang up that phone, they go, man, that Jim Bardwell seemed like he was happy to talk to me. He seemed like he was paying attention to me. He seemed like he wanted to be on the phone with me. He didn't seem distracted. Didn't seem like he was in a hurry. Didn't seem like he had another agenda as a sideline.
Right.
And I think that's what you mean. When you say make conversations count, it is a conscious decision to tune into that person, to get close, right?
Right.
And that is something that is, Tim, let's face it, it's a fine art. It's a dying art. I've come across a lot of young people today that if I had to pick one challenge that they're facing, it is the communical arts. They're not, we can blame it on this thing if we want to, but I tell you, I don't know where the disconnect is, but I remember I grew up in an environment where these old folks, man, they were just conversationalists, masterful conversationalists. They were able to get your attention and draw you in, just like this Bill Clinton guy. He was able to just make you feel as though this is the most important conversation I've had all day. Mm-hmm. And now, can we all be Bill Clinton? I don't know. Maybe some of us don't want to be Bill Clinton. But I tell you, I think that one attribute is certainly something I can aspire to. And I want to make people feel that way about me, right?
Right. Well, something I was getting at with this particular idea was, especially now with holidays, and then you throw the quarantine, social distancing of COVID on top of that. I think it's just really easy for anybody to pull back and say, well, nobody wants to hear from me right now, or nobody wants to make phone calls, or, either that, or they might not even respond. They might not even answer. They might not answer text, emails, whatever. But that's when I made it a point, when I was a financial advisor and had my practice, I made it a point to be out in the community to run across these people at locations. So I wouldn't even let my assistant go to the post office because there may be somebody that I needed to see at the post office.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. And the more conversations that I could have, the less sales calls I had to have. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And again, I think that's what that philosophy of making sure that every conversation counts. Another aspect of this is don't make the mistake of thinking that a conversation isn't important.
True.
Okay.
That could be, yeah. You could be being judged as you speak and as the
That's
conversation
right.
goes.
That's right. And once I had a opportunity to sit with a man that explained to me that he had a system of making decisions on bringing people into his employ. And this guy was in the brokerage business, very, very successful, the commodities and things like that. And obviously that's a highly, highly, highly consultative sales relationship, right? You really got to have a good personality, but more importantly, you have to have the ability to convey integrity. Okay. He said that was the number one skill set he taught. He looked for is the ability to convey, not the ability to convey intelligence, not the ability, oh, look how smart I am, or how well I speak, or how nice I dress. You have to be able to convey that you had integrity, right? And the way that he would do that when someone would come in for an interview, he would purposely have his receptionist start the conversation of the interview. And this person, she had been with him a long time. And so after he'd step out and take over, bring him into the office, the interchange would happen, he'd send them along their way. And first question he asked is, do they make it past you? And he smiled and he said, there was probably some really smart and intelligent people who had their stockbroker's license and people that could have probably even made me a lot of money. But he said they never made it past her. Is how they treated her. The conversation they had with her is where they failed the interview, not the conversation they had with him.
That's great.
And so this philosophy is extremely important. Make your conversations count. Make sure that every opportunity you are conveying the message you want to convey. Now, depending on what industry you're in, again, I would think in financial business, integrity would be really important to convey, right?
Right.
Well, in my industry, I'm in two different industries, really. One of them, I have to convey trust in technology. Trust in technology. They need to know that this product is going to work, is going to work in such a way that's good for the environment. You see where I'm going with this? Right. So in my communication with whoever I'm having a conversation with, that's very important that I get that across. And so, all of these are elements in making sure that our conversations count.
Right. Well, let's take a look real quick. Mike Mahurin, glad to have you join the call with us.
Hi there, Mike.
Glad you were able to get in today. Let's move back to this. So surround yourself with people that you trust will help you get there. Kind of like what you were saying about having these conversations count, but I think it's important, and we talk about this in our peer advisory groups, is to have those people there that already understand what your circumstance is and they know what you need, and they're going to try to connect you to the people or the conversations that you need to be having. And so when you're looking at a shortened time frame, or like right now with holidays as well as all the COVID stuff happening, that becomes very important to help with those conversations, don't you think?
Absolutely. And of course, again, the biggest challenge, Tim, and I see this, all the time in personal relationships, but often you see this quite a lot in the professional world as well, is that the people we end up with on our team, the people we end up working with or for, the people we end up as our clients, it's completely by random accident. There is no thought process put into it. there was a time in my life where that was not the case. And again, I keep going back to it, but it was my time in the military. I would dare say probably your time in the Corps of Cadets, it was similar, because again, no one ended up in the Cadet Corps by accident. You just didn't turn a corner and, oh, well, I'm here, I guess I'll just join this. That's not how that works, right?
Right.
There's no accidental cadets, were there?
Right.
Now there might have been people who thought they wanted to be in cadets and figured out they weren't, right? Up for the deal. And there might have been some of you guys all sat around and say, you know what, they're not up for the deal, and got rid of them. Same thing when I was in the military. I went to the regular Army, and that was a certain commitment. Then you went into airborne school, and that was another level of commitment. Then you got sent to Ranger Battalion, well, that was another level of commitment. And every level of commitment, those people really wanted to be there.
Right.
And so I'm not telling you to turn your friend circle or your business circle into the Corps of Cadets. And, we're not endorsing hazing or anything, right? No. What we're doing is just simply saying, maybe there should be a thought process to it, though, right? That is this somebody that I think could benefit from me being their friend? Can I help them? Can I be of service to them? Are they going to be a good fit for what I'm here on this planet to give, right? Those are really good questions to ask. A lot of times people sometimes will wake up and realize, it's like that song, that song by the Talking Heads, how did I get here? Who is this person? Who and we're talking about people working together.
Right.
I've had people tell me that they woke up one day and they thought to myself, I don't even know these people I'm going in the office to work with. Who are they? How did I even end up sitting there all day next to them, 8 hours a day? I don't even know who they are. I mean, I know who they are, but I don't know who they are.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that extends to your clients as well. That has to be a thoughtful process of saying, am I surrounding myself with the people who I can help, that I can be of service to, that do desperately need my product, good, and service? There's nothing worse than being out there trying to be of use to somebody that doesn't need you.
Right.
And I don't care whatever, someone, everybody needs this. My granddaddy always told me to go in the funeral business because everybody's going to need a funeral guy sooner or later, right?
Right.
Yeah, but the rest of us that are living might not need a funeral guy right now. That's kind of a silly story if you think about it. Everybody, you should become a barber. Everybody needs a haircut. Yeah, eventually everybody will need a haircut, but not everybody needs a haircut all the time. Is my product good or service? Am I making sure that I'm surrounding myself with people that can help me get there? What is there? Success. If somebody happens to be in the business of selling donuts and they move into the middle of a town that's extremely health conscious, right? The entire town is known in America's top 10 healthiest towns in America, and this one's number one, right? Everybody runs every day, and all they drink is juice and they eat vegetables, and that's it. They just don't. You're gonna go open a candy shop there or a donut shop? Might not be the best idea, right?
Right.
Who knows? Depends on how evil a person you are, right? So, but you see where I'm getting with this. You've got to surround yourself with people that are going to help you get there, whether that be whatever that there is.
I think that's important, though, to ask people that, because, when I talk about deepening relationships quickly, I try to help people find someone or something in common as fast as possible. Right. And typically what happens is when you get into a business type situation, let's talk about the peer advisory group type situation. The one thing that we do have in common is we all want to grow our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's there, but if you're dealing with let's say a business, a B2C situation, business to customer, business to client, that being different, you're not necessarily wanting to surround yourselves with clients to help you grow, to help you get there. That's your end game, if you will. But you'd want to surround yourselves with other business owners that want to grow their business as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, because then how I equate it, and I guess I hope you don't take this the wrong way, because you were special forces, right?
Well, 2nd Battalion Ranger, then 109th Military Intelligence. Yeah.
Okay. So one thing I teach our peer advisory groups is they want to move as a special forces in and of themselves. So like a team, right? So if they're covering each other's six when they go into an event or something like that, they're all working together. They've all worked to know who they need to know, who their best referral options are, and they are out there helping each other because they know the rest of the team is doing the same for them. Right. And then they go and break up and go do this. Heather has a digital marketing company, and this actually started with how she and I would work rooms together. And I remember going to Howard Partridge's events. And one thing that we would do is we would always sit apart, or if we sat together, we would, when the breaks came, we would go to the opposite sides of the room and we would work back to the middle to one another.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would take each other and introduce each other to the people that we just met.
Mm-hmm.
So we could multiply our connection rate in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done in the peer advisory groups is taught them to do the same. But that multiplies. So if you've got, let's say, 7 in a group and they're doing that with each other, you get to 21, if not 42 relationships pretty quick, and it can move faster like that. We help each other grow faster, but that surround yourself with people who you trust will help you get to where you're trying to go. That's what I like about that concept. And really, when you start breaking down, we don't have much time left in the year and you need to finish strong, you need to rely on those people right now.
And you know what? Actually, that is a great analogy, because again, the unit I was in did use the team philosophy, meaning that each of us had an individual specialty, yes, but we would cross train one another in those individual specialties to the point, not that they were as good at it as us, but at least they understood it. They knew enough about it. They could speak about it. They could tell people about it, right? So that philosophy is actually very good. And I picked up on something else you said. In the old days, they used to call that work in the room. That word "work in the room" is because it was work. It wasn't just haphazard. You didn't just make it up as you went along. There was work to be done, right? There was a reason to be there. You mentioned Howard Partridge. I never forget one of the very first network marketing meetings I went to with Howard. We get into the room, and this was in Texas, and of course, Texas. I mean, everything's bigger and better, and so they had a buffet laid out that, oh my gosh, Tim! I mean, they were carving roast beef, and they were flambeing oysters, and I mean, they had bananas Foster, and I mean, cherries Jubilee. I mean, it was
sounds terrific.
It was amazing. I mean, you wouldn't believe all this food they had, right? And so, of course, I get there. I'll go get me some of those grits and gravy. I'm just a country boy from Louisiana, man. I see a spread like that, I'm gonna take advantage. And Howard laughed. He says, we didn't come here for the food. He said, we'll go out and get some lunch after this, okay? Because he understood that it was vitally important, the work that needed to be done in that room. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised how many people will go to an event like that, and you think that the whole purpose they came was at Bananas Foster.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're there for. They're there to eat, right? They're there to do this, or they're there to do. Why are you there? Well, number one, you got to believe that you have a product, good, or service that is a desperately needed thing. And how selfish of you, how short-sighted of you to go into a room with people that desperately need what you have to offer, and you decide that you're there to eat lunch. You think about that for a moment. You know what I mean? there could have been somebody that came to that meeting with no other reason than thinking, my goodness gracious, I desperately need to get my insurance life situated. My insurance is just a mess. I don't even know if I'm covered where I need to be covered. I don't know. I sure would love to be able to meet an insurance agent. And there you sit over there in the corner with, the second trip up there, and they put the desserts out. You're going to go get a big plate of dessert. You're more worried about sitting there eating, than you are giving to that room and making sure that everybody in that room has an opportunity to benefit from what you're there to give, right? And it's just a different way. And so surrounding yourself, man, if you go there with a team, like Howard reminded me, hey, we didn't come here to eat. This is not that. I didn't, we want to go to lunch. We'll go to lunch. This is a networking meeting, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a team that will be there to support you and keep you on track and remind you, why are you there? I noticed, Tim, you was over in a corner talking to your brother. Well, that's great. Your brother showed up here. That's neat. But Tim, you can talk to your brother anytime. What I mean? Your brother knows everything about you. He knows what you sell. Okay. You can call him on Sunday and sell him. Right now, we've got to be on deck in this room.
Right. Well, and the way I saw it is they got food. They fell right into my trap. They'd go sit down and eat, and I'd go talk to them.
You go talk to them. You get a crescent roll on your plate just so you don't look like you're some kind of weirdo, right? And just sit down and talk to them. Yeah.
Well, they're busy eating, but they got time to listen.
That's right. Let them cue. You'll talk.
You're right. That's funny. Well, I appreciate it, Jim, and that about covers everything that we're going to talk about on refocusing productive activities. If you have any questions or comments, I do ask you to join the conversation or continue the conversation in the comment section. And we would love to continue this conversation long after this broadcast. But Jim, would you tell us real quick about Fiber Protector America and what it is that you offer through that?
Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. So I'm Jim Bardwell. I'm Executive Director of Sales, Marketing, and Education for Fiber Protector America. What is Fiber Protector America, you ask? Well, we are an organization that gives access to the world's most technologically advanced, environmentally friendly protection system. Protection what? Fine investment quality textiles, leather, some of the most expensive. Tim, did you know that what people pay for a chair in an aircraft? And I don't say an aircraft, I mean a high-end private jet, right? One of these 60, 70, $80 million jets. Just one chair, okay? They might pay $250,000 for one chair.
Wow.
Okay? I mean, think if it's a $60 million aircraft, I mean, that's not bad. Couple $100,000 for a chair.
Right.
So certainly someone with a piece of fabric or textile like that, that's considered investment quality. Mm-hmm. And that's where this product got its start. And now that product's available all over the United States, Canada, and Mexico through one of our licensed applicators. If you'd like to learn more about this product, how it can protect your textile investments, go to fpamerica.com. That's initials only, capital F, capital P, America, fpamerica.com. And you can email me at jim@fpamerica.com.
Might need that to spray on hats.
Oh, man, I tell you, this stuff works on hats, shoes, handbags, luggage, anything that you think, wait a minute. Next time I go, speaking of Thanksgiving, I go to my friends, my relatives' house, and they're a little messy. They might get some spaghetti sauce on my hat. Yeah. Get that stuff protected.
Well, thank you, Jim. And I'm Tim Nichols with 3 Million%. We have a peer advisory program where business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals, they learn from each other's victories, challenges, and experiences. We actually have events coming up, one-day workshops where we fit in a whole 3-month growth group cycle into one day. And you walk away with a 90-day marketing plan as to how you can engage what we talk about here in your next 90 days. But be on the lookout for a 90-day planner that I'm developing that will help you implement these on a daily basis and keep you accountable as well. So we want you to be on the lookout for those. Expect those for January, and look forward to getting those in your hands. They should be available on Amazon as well. But thank you very much for joining us. Jim, thank you for co-hosting with me. We do want to gear you and prepare you for finishing strong throughout the end of the year. And we will look forward to seeing you on Monday at 2:00 on the 300% page, Tim Nichols Strategist page, as well as on our YouTube channel. All right. So look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everyone.